I'm currently in school, and I'd say I go to like upperclassmen mostly for advice, and also like my TAs or my like advisor, my academic advisor. And I think it's really important to have people that like you're comfortable talking to. And I think it can be hard being like a woman in STEM, but having like a woman advisor is like really helpful for me. And I've like wanted to request and seek out a woman advisor, just because I do feel like more comfortable talking to them. And I think it's important, especially with like academic issues. If you're like struggling in a class, being able to have like that support system for me is really important.
I would really look to high school guidance counselors. If for not my high school guidance counselor, I would have never taken a computer science class in high school. That wasn't something I wanted or sought out. I would have been way more intimidated than I already was had I not had that wisdom of a high school guidance counselor. So reach out to them, ask them about job for a day experiences. I really benefited from that. I got to shadow a radio disc jockey for a day in my hometown. I got to shadow an FBI agent. Those, were diverse but also very informative experiences. Then at the collegiate level, again, I did well enough in high school to assure me that I could find a home in engineering. But I tell you what, I befriended the chemistry and math learning centers, or the free tutoring that was offered on campus. So that was a bit of a difference, but for me, between high school and college, was all the free resources and tutoring expertise. And like Tatum said, looking to those upperclassmen who'd already gone through the classes or might have recommendations for how to deal with a particular instructor, or maybe like watch out for the third test in Chem 115. Those have been words of wisdom for me. I would just encourage you to think of learning as not just something where we hope you get Bachelor of Science degrees, right? Get a 4-year degree and then move on. Learning is lifelong. And so I've been really surprised beyond college to find that I get to do internships and fellowships as an adult. It's not just something that's relegated to the years of high school or undergraduate learning. So I would, in a STEM career, be excited about all the ways that you can grow and try on short-term opportunities.
I think my path to training, I knew that I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy from the time I was a freshman in high school. And so I knew it was an engineering school, and I knew that they valued math and science. So I took math and science sometimes, and sometimes math and science took me. But we were on the journey together, and fortunately I was able to get in. And then in school, just like Tatum and Sarah said, I spent a lot of time with physics and chemistry instructors, and then working alongside classmates and asking questions. I think one of the key things for me was learning how I learn. And it took a minute to figure that out, but oftentimes for me specifically, and I don't know if this applies to anyone, so I'll share it because it was mind-blowing for me. But oftentimes in education, we will teach our students to step through a process, and they'll continue to step through the process over and over and over again. And then at the end, they'll be able to step through that process, but the application phase is a little bit lost. And so that's kind of where my mind was until I realized that I think instead of inward out, like this is a cell and now we go out and this is how, the world is comprised. Instead, my brain works outside in. So if you tell me what you want me to do in the very beginning, then I can go to the inside and figure out, oh, okay, well, this makes sense, which is why a cell would be a building block for life. And so understanding that, I realized that sometimes my questions were seemingly not necessarily off the wall, because it would seem like I wouldn't understand concepts. And honestly, people would just have thought, and I would say I would have thought, science doesn't make sense to me, or this doesn't make sense to me, or that doesn't make sense to me. But in reality, I just learn a different way. And so once I realized how I learned, I often ask in classroom settings now, what's the big picture? Like, where are we coming from and what's the end goal? And as such, then I'm able to kind of pare that down and learn how I need to learn. And I've become much more of an accelerated learner in the last several years as far as some of these things go. But don't be discouraged at the very beginning if it doesn't make sense. because there are some things that are complex, but learning the way you learn and understanding that people are there to teach you is very important, and I think will help as far as continuing through STEM journeys for young people.
I like to encourage my students to make mistakes. Like if you know it, you're not learning. So you learn more from the mistakes that you make. And so trying to have that safe environment, well, all right, this didn't work. So where can I go from here, and learning from there the problem. So kind of like say going from the big out, but don't be afraid to make those mistakes and take those steps outside. And I know it's hard for a lot of students to even ask for the help, like to go to the free tutoring, and like they've all said, encouraged to take advantage of that, get those. I had a great academic advisor, female advisor in college, and same thing, she made me think outside the box of what you wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. She's like, why? I said, I love kids. She said, you want to see sick kids all the time? And no, that's not what I meant. So, just making you think outside the box, but you need people who will push you and support you in your mistakes, where you feel comfortable making those mistakes, because you learn more from the mistakes than from what you already know.